If a lot of time has passed and you have not received your swearing-in ceremony notice, that might be a little bit of a warning or red flag that something might be up in your case. Hey guys, today I want to share with you a recent experience I had filing an N-400 naturalization application for somebody in New York City. I was really surprised at what the outcome was here, so I wanted to share with you guys and make a short video on this. So we filed the N-400 in November of 2023. In February of 2024, we received an interview appointment notice scheduled for March. In March, she appeared for her interview and brought all of the necessary documents with her. The officer, right after administering the naturalization test, the history and civics test, swore my client in. Well, actually, she didn't swear her in. She brought her to another room where she was sworn in as a US citizen. Typically, that's unusual. At least historically, it's been unusual. Usually what would happen is you'll receive a piece of paper that says, congratulations, you've passed the civics and history test, and you're going to receive a notice by mail with a date for your swearing-in ceremony. But what USCIS actually does in the time period between your interview and your swearing-in ceremony is they'll continue to do background checks to make sure you're eligible for naturalization. In fact, if a lot of time has passed and you have not received your swearing-in ceremony notice, that might be a little bit of a warning or red flag that something might be up in your case, and you should probably speak with an immigration lawyer, because that's happened to my clients a few times, and it was always bad news. Usually it meant that USCIS found something, some fraud or ineligibility or something like that, and they might be sending your case to immigration court if the issue was big enough. Now, the important thing that I want to emphasize here is that my client brought all of her original documents with her to her N-400 interview. And she even brought documents that were not technically required, like marriage certificates and things like that, divorce certificates. They were not required to be submitted in this case, because this was a naturalization application based on being a resident for more than 5 years. It wasn't based on being married to a US citizen. So none of that stuff was really relevant. But ultimately, the officer was very grateful that she brought all the stuff, and she was sworn in that same day, which is an amazing outcome. She went in for her citizenship test and she left a US citizen. If you're thinking about submitting an N-400 naturalization application and you want to speak with a lawyer to make sure you have all the correct documents, to figure out what the timeline is, to see if you're eligible, to do a background check to see if there are any risks involved with you filing your N-400 application, let me know. I would be happy to go through your whole case with you during a consultation to see if you qualify and to create a strategy for your case. And if you've seen any of my other videos on this, I generally recommend, before you submit your application, if there's anything unclear in your immigration history, for example, you don't know exactly how you got your green card because you were a kid and your parents did it, or you got it through marriage but it was a really long time ago and you've been married multiple times. These are complex issues, and sometimes mistakes were made in the past that could pop up when you apply for citizenship. I had a client who married in 1991. He got his green card, and then in 2015, he submitted a citizenship application. He went in for his interview, he passed the test. 3 months later, crickets, no news from USCIS. 1 year later, he walks into my office and shows me all his documents, and I become kind of concerned. I'm beginning to think maybe they found something in his immigration history. 1 year after that, so 2 years after he filed the citizenship application, he received a notice to appear in immigration court to commence deportation proceedings. The reason? The reason was because in 1991, when he married his US citizen spouse, which petitioned for him and allowed him to become a permanent resident, USCIS made a mistake. They didn't give him conditional residency. They gave him full residency, and it should have been conditional, which means by law, he was required to remove those conditions 2 years later. But he didn't know that because he got a full unconditional green card and he thought, this is great. Immigration must have liked me. They just gave me an amazing green card. But actually, USCIS took the position that by failing to submit the petition to remove conditions, I've talked about this, it's Form I-751, by failing to submit that, his residency was terminated in 1993, 2 years after he got his green card. When I explained this to him, he was really confused because he had renewed his green card 2 to 3 times after he got it, each time for a 10-year period, and USCIS never gave him an issue. The reality is that when you renew a green card, USCIS does very little background check. But when you apply for citizenship, they go through everything, because once you become a citizen, you are no longer deportable from the United States. It's a huge step for the US government to give you citizenship. So before they do, they really want to make sure that you qualify. This story isn't to scare you, it's just to emphasize the importance of doing a thorough background check before you submit a citizenship application. And honestly, I've done some of these where at the end of the day, my advice to the client was, don't apply for citizenship. You have a green card right now. You might end up getting deported if we apply for citizenship. So let's not even take the risk. Just live in the US as a permanent resident for the rest of your life. So anyway, if you guys are interested in applying for citizenship, let me know. We can go through your whole case, see what the risks are, see what the best strategy is, and we'll take it from there. Alright guys, so that brings us to the end of today's video. If you're new to my channel, I create a video once a week on family-based immigration and citizenship mostly. Those are the topics that we discuss. Be sure to like and subscribe if you're interested in these topics, and I'll see you guys next week.